Okay, so let's talk E major. E major is one of the best chords for the sort of things we're doing here, of trying to work a melody into the way we're playing. And this is especially a useful key in blues, rock, all of that sort of thing. So we could do kind of a folky, you know, we could make that bluesier. You know, something like that. And that could be done whatever it is, something like that. So with a pick, finger picked. Also, I always tend towards Travis picking with this kind of, which if you like folk music is great, but if you don't, gets really old really quickly. So, you know, so we can do different rhythms, different ways of making this not so, you know, monotone and in its theme. Okay, so also we have, you know, a lot of these kind of things are on the bass strings. You know, out of this E shape. Also, the that shuffle which you may have encountered is really just the lowest two strings, a little shuffle coming from this lower two strings of this E. We could do a boogie woogie. You know, something like that. So any number of different ways we can play this. But I'd say a good place to start would be to work on these upper two strings. So we'll get to that in a second, but first, maybe the place to start is, so lift up this index finger here. I'd say with any chord, if you want to start figuring out things to do, just try lifting fingers off the guitar and see how that sounds. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You know, it doesn't always work. Some don't sound so great. But you quickly figure out what you like and what you don't. So with this E major, if we lift this up, we get an E minor. So it might not sound great to put that in a song. Well, sometimes I'll do E, sometimes I'll do E minor. You know, hey. That E minor doesn't quite fit. But if we use it as more of a passing note, then it's great. So. You know, makes me think of kind of Hank Williams sort of thing. Right, and when I'm doing that, I'm plucking that string and doing a hammer on it. But if that's a little tough, you could just, you know, off, on. Yeah, something like that, whatever it is. Or it could be done finger picking. Right, something like that. The next thing would be probably trying to lift off the ring finger. So if we lift that up, that's an E7. Put that back on, we're back to E major. And if you were to see a song, it would not say, okay, it probably wouldn't say, okay, for this chord, it's going to be E. But what would sound good is go back and forth between E and E7. You know, it'll just say A, then D, then E. And you then, as the guitarist, as the interpreter of the song, get to say, well, you know what? I like this little thing I learned. So you get to just add that whenever, you know, the mood strikes. You know, whatever that is. Okay, so I'd say the next thing in this realm, this is probably the toughest of these, is, well, it depends on the level, I guess, but adding the pinky to the second fret of the G. If your chord is a little, kind of leaning over, a little askew, and you're muting the G, it's very easy for that to be buried. And especially if you're strumming, right? So if, let's say this G is not very clear, but I strum the whole chord, you're not going to hear that because that's hidden underneath all these other strings. So when you try something like this, I don't really hear anything, So make sure everything so work on your chords, make sure everything's nice and clear, and then you should be able to hear that difference. And I'd try to kind of, if I'm having trouble with something like this, I'll sort of, kind of try to dial my ear into the frequency I'm listening for. Right. And the more you do of that, the better that gets. And you may recognize that, that's a common chord movement. That would be an E sus4. You don't have to remember that. You can just think second fret of the G. Or you could just, that pinky thing on the E, that's pretty cool. When I hear that, especially in E, I think of She Talks to Angels, I think it is, the Black Crows. Yeah, I think Black Crows. So, I don't know, something like that. And that's in an open E tuning, I believe. So, it would be played a little bit differently. But that's the sound, that's the chord. Okay, and then we could also combine that with maybe that E minor. So all of those kind of are at our disposal, and even that E7, so we could start combining all of these. Something like that. Put, keep putting more and more together. Okay, now for the big area of importance here. So let's go to an E6, which is, if we're playing this E major, it's going to be the second fret of the B string. So that's what we're listening for. A quick note on that, I'll make this really quick. The reason we call that 6, this is a parenthetical note. If this doesn't make sense or you don't care, don't worry about this. But eventually this will make sense and will be very important. And you say, of course, how did I not realize that? Or, I always knew that. That revision is very important if you're a guitarist. Oh yeah, I've always known that. I learned it last week, but now, I need to keep up pretense. So if we start with this E, or any E, that's the scale. We can hear do, re, mi. So we might think of that as do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Or we could think of that as the actual notes: E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. That's not, that has its uses. But I'd say more often I am thinking of numbers. So instead of E, F sharp, G sharp, or do, re, mi, fa, sol, I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 8 is 1 again. In the same way that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, do. So do's are the same, 1 and 8, or 1 and now another 1. This is getting too long for parentheses. But so La, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. La is the 6th note. And we can start, we have E's everywhere. We have an E here, we have an E here, we have an E here. So we can play that scale anywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 6, that's where the 6 is coming from. From this scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, la. So we want to play an E major chord and we want to add la. Or we play an E major chord and we need to add the 6 from the scale. And so we call that E6. So the numbering system, if you hear a 9, add a 4, add a, that's where those numbers are coming from. Are you adding do? Are you adding re? Are you adding mi? Are you adding? So that's where the numbers come from. So it's not a really elaborate concept that's too tough to get. But it does take a while to kind of get familiar with that and comfortable just using that, in your descriptions of songs and chords and learning and all that. Okay, end of parentheses there. Let's get back to the E. So E6. We can do picking. Now, what can we add to that? A good rule of this is if you figure out something, you like it, try the same thing on an adjacent string. So we're on the 2nd string, 2nd fret. Let's try the 2nd fret here. So that would be called an E. Well, that's a 9. We won't get back into that, but I just think of it as the 2nd fret. That sounds like I got rhythm, but that's okay. So we have 4 notes. Okay, and so those are the notes, and we want to be able to play that with our pinky. And now we want to add a chord underneath that. So our E. So if we're strumming. Picking. Right? So all just coming from those 4 notes. 2nd fret. Okay. But that, that might sound a little hokey maybe, a little I don't know, a little kind of too folky or something like that. So I need more adjectives. So if we move this up to the 3rd fret, completely different sound. 2nd fret, 3rd fret. Now we're in that kind of blues realm. I could also strum. If you're having trouble kind of coordinating, that's a place you can start. Whatever. Okay. Now the next one, that may have been tough enough because it's a little bit of a stretch from where your hand is. The next one is even more of a stretch. So it's 4th fret. And you can already hear that's a whole new sound. So 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret. The tough part about this is getting your pinky up there. And if you watch my hand, what's happening is every time I go down there, I'm dropping my thumb to the back of the guitar because I'm dropping my whole hand down. So Second fret, easy. So what's going on there? Why am I moving my hand? If you look at your hand, right, do this kind of thing. If I want to spread my outside fingers, as I do this, the fingertips, they stay in line with your finger. Obviously, because your finger is straight. It doesn't bend left or right. It only bends in a line. So if I want my fingers to spread further apart, I'm going to keep as much as I can. But the fingertips themselves don't really move too much. When they're straight, they're like that. If I really, really, really push, they're still at about the same place. So when people are trying to play things that have, a stretch of several frets, especially, people who are not thinking about this the right way, they go, oh, I can't. Maybe if I pry my fingers, maybe then I can't do it. It's my hand. You say, no, it's okay. You can do that. You're just not doing it quite right. No, it's my hand. I have a special hand. No one else has a hand like mine. I'm the only one, and that's why I can't do it. People say this with bar chords too. You say, no, it's the form. You just gotta hold it a little differently. No, I tried. I can't do it. My hand's special. That's why I don't. So I'm not gonna try anymore. So that's a dangerous. But sometimes you need that to kind of save your own ego a little bit. Oh gosh. Well, maybe it's just me. Maybe there's something special, and that's why I can't do it. Anyway, so if we do want to open our hand more, what's the trick? There you go. So much, much further reach by going that way instead of that way. And that seems obvious. So if I want to play something that's several frets apart and I hold my hand that way, no problem. But if I want to do it and keep my hand closed, it's not going to work. So something like a G. My hand's up here, so I have a closed fist, and now, I don't know if I can even get, maybe, if I really stretch, I can get up to the 4th fret with that. Maybe. But it doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't sound good, Those are all related. But if I drop my thumb, my whole hand opens up. And now, look at that. You can get as far as you want. So I'm holding my G, right? I'm on the G, maybe the 7th fret I can get, just about. Right, so I'm on the 2nd fret here, 7th fret there. That's just, that's how you open things up. So if you're struggling with any of these chords, it's not, well, maybe if I just keep stretching this for another couple of years, I'll be able to do it. No, just hold your hand differently. It's easy, Easy, that's kind of a joke, but it's about the form. Try a little, try to think about the mechanics of your hand and try a little differently. And then, can't do it this way, drop the hand, then I can do it. Much more accessible. So with this E, if you're gripping onto this like it's a baseball bat, your pinky is never leaving the 2nd fret. But if you drop your hand down like this, and you'll know because your wrist will then come up at a right angle, then you can get to that 4th fret. Right? So that's what we want to think about. 2nd fret, nice. 3rd fret. And my thumb's already dropped, so 2nd fret. Right, so any of these, and any of these can be combined. So we could go 2nd, or maybe a 3rd fret. Then you may think, well, what about the 5th fret? How does that sound? Well, that's pretty far. So it certainly could work, and if you can get there, then I'd try it. I don't think I ever have until this very second, so maybe it has a use. One thing about the 5th fret of the B is it's the same note as the open E, so that you don't gain much by getting up there. But maybe this A would be good. Yeah, it's kind of nice. Maybe there's something there. And then you also might think, okay, well, so 4th is good, 3rd works, 2nd works. What about the 1st fret? Now we have a problem of accessibility. It's a little tough. So maybe if we rearrange the fingers, we could, maybe that'll work. You could also just use your index finger, but you have to be careful because now you have an E minor underneath. So if you're picking, and you're just avoiding that G, well, that could work. And then back to the E when you're done. Which is probably how I would do it just out of laziness. If you're doing some chords and you get to that one and you think, oh shoot, I should have done it this way, but I'm already holding it this way. I guess I'll keep it this way and I'll just, and the next time around this progression, I'm going to try to remember to land on E like that. That's a lot of the, chords keep coming around. If you're playing a progression that goes A minor, G, F, E, which is the setting I would use for this. So that's called the Andalusian cadence. G, G, A minor, G, F, E. And that's a nice setting, because now this would be called harmonic minor. You don't need to know that, but an A in a harmonic minor. Right, so that 1st fret is good in that setting. So each of these has their place. You might think, well, E, that's never going to work. Well, it might work, or that's so hokey, I don't like that. But maybe there's a setting where that's the perfect thing. A to D. So there, the E. And back to the A. So putting the chords in context then really opens things up. But the last thing I'll say on this E is getting your pinky comfortable moving around different frets and being able to hold a chord and move that is so helpful for any genre you're going to play. But from an E, if we go to an F, what this F really is an E, scooted up a fret, and then we have a bar. Almost like if we put a capo there and held an E. So now we can do all of our pinky tricks again. So instead, we hold it this way, and now our pinky is kind of right there, so we might have to lift that up. But we have F, and then the same pinky things work. Anywhere we put that chord. So studying this E, and then especially studying it in conjunction with, or keeping in mind that everything you learn here is transferable up the neck. That's where you really get to open things up. So E. Right, so I'm just keeping that same shape, but I make a bar chord at the 5th fret. Now I have my E here, that's how I'm picturing it. Pinky. That, 2nd fret relative to the finger. Little folky. Up a fret, we're into that bluesy fret. 4th fret, now we have that other sound. Right, now maybe I slide up 2 frets, so I'm at B, and then the same thing works. Or blues. So this opens up the whole fretboard to this style of playing. That may have been way too much, but take what you can, practice it without the plucking, just try this kind of thing, and then work in some rhythm that you like. And find the sounds you like and put those together and sit on the couch for, 20 hours and just kind of have fun with this. And then you show your friends, you say, oh, I'm a much better guitarist. Wow, how'd you learn all that? Oh, I don't know, just kind of messing around. But that's really how you do learn. It's just, once it gets boring, you try something else. And then that gets boring. You try something else, and that gets boring. And eventually you can just do all these things, and you're bored with everything you do. That's sort of the curse of it, too. You go, well, yeah, I can do that, but that's so boring. Give me something else, Anyway, good luck. Way too much, but good luck with that. And we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.